Today's episode is brought to you with support from Prep Dish. It's a new year, and I know it's a super common goal to be working on improving your nutrition or the logistical aspects of family mealtime. Prep Dish is a longtime Best Laid Plan sponsor and a great tool that can help with these goals. Here's how it works. Every week, you'll receive a full week's dinner plan in your email, complete with shopping list and even Instacart links if you like to shop that way. You can use Prep Dish plans every week, or you can alternate with your own tried and true favorites to mix things up. When we use Prep Dish, sometimes we'll make some tweaks to the menu, and other times we'll just make the whole thing as is. Either way, this is one major mental load reducer for me, and I absolutely love not having to come up with a menu every week on my own. To try it out at no cost, go to prepdish.com/plans to activate your trial. In addition to the super fast menus that I love and use regularly, Prep Dish has gluten-free, paleo, and low-carb options, so there's truly something for everyone. Again, that's prepdish.com/plans for your first 2 weeks free. If you try it, let me know. I'd love to hear about it. Hello, and welcome to Best Laid Plans. This is your host, Sarah Hart-Unger, and this is a podcast where we talk all things planning and planning adjacent. And I'm coming at you from the very beginning of 2026. If you are listening to this, we're both here on the other side of the new year. So exciting. And if you love planning like I do, you probably have a lot of fresh start energy going on, and you've probably done a lot of thinking about your annual goals, or maybe you're still planning on doing that, but you still probably have ideas of what you might want those to look like. So today we're going to capitalize on some of that energy, and hopefully I can help you to use it as best as possible as we talk through some common struggles that people often have with their annual goals. And I really just hope this episode provides encouragement and inspiration as you get started on our 2026 journey. So with that, we will just go off on our list. The topic is going to be 10 things to think about your goals when you are starting off in the new year. And these are in no particular order, but I've been ruminating on kind of what I think is the most important and what people sometimes struggle with when it comes to addressing and dealing with their annual goals list. Okay, number 1, you do not need to do everything on your list at once. I know I advocate for people spending a really solid amount of time doing their annual planning because I just think that once every 365 days, it's worth really taking stock of multiple areas of our life and coming up with detailed plans and thoughts about different things we want to do in the coming 12 months. However, what that can result in is a feeling of overwhelm right off the bat. And I think one of the reasons is that our brains don't really remember that we've made this list and these plans pertaining to the next 365 days. Our brains see the list and think, oh my gosh, I'm supposed to be doing all of this stuff right now. And in fact, I designed my kind of goal setting system to prevent me from looking at these larger scales lists too often. In fact, most days, the only list I'm looking at is my weekly list. I don't want to pull out this annual list every single day because it can be overwhelming. But right now, it's the beginning of the year, and you've just made your list, so you probably are looking at it and thinking about it a little bit more. We're going to get to how that's likely to fade later, but it's important to remind yourself that this is not a list of things to do everything all at once right now. And in fact, you don't even have to set the plans in motion. Just because your list has on it that you want to go see leaves with friends in the fall. I mean, mine has that on there. Doesn't everyone's? That doesn't mean you have to plan that trip in January. I mean, you certainly could, but it could probably also wait until March or April. Or hey, you could really walk on the wild side and plan that trip in the summer for the fall. So I guess what I'm getting at is just remember that just because it's on the list for the year doesn't mean it has to be addressed or attacked in January. There probably are a couple of items where you do feel moved to go ahead and get started, and that's wonderful. And there are some items that just might make sense to get started with earlier, and we'll talk about those in a minute, but it's not all to do for now. And so hopefully that will kind of calm some of those feelings of overwhelm that some of us get when we see a whole slew of things that look exciting and important, but can't all happen at the same time. All right. Number 2, and this is kind of linked to number 1, you do want to make sure that you have a plan for looking at this list. So I know that right now you just made the list, or maybe you're just about to make the list, and you're like, of course I won't forget about my list. I spent so much time making it. I'm going to look at this every single day. It's going to be something that I'm excited about every single day of this year, but we know that it's not. We know that there's going to come a day in March or April they're going to be like, where did I put that list? Now, the best thing to do to prevent that is to put it in a place you know you will look. So in your main planner or in your main notes app or Notion or whatever your favorite kind of filing cabinet of choice is. But B, make sure you schedule a date in the future when you know you're going to pull out that list. And you guys know I love talking about my nested goals system, where every season one of the first things you do when you plan that season is to pull out the annual list. So if you're practicing nested goals technique, then you know that you're going to be pulling out this list at least seasonally, which is probably somewhere from 3 or 5 times each year. Is that enough to move things forward? I think so, because I feel like you'll see that in the season, and then during the month, you look at your seasonal list. You guys, many of you probably already know how my nested goals work. If you want a full discussion of that, I have an episode called All About Nested Goals that I'll link to in these show notes. But in general, I don't think you have to look at this all the time, but that's very different from just playing it by ear when you look at it. You should set a date. It should be in your calendar or planner when you are going to pull this out again to do some planning for the next season. And if you don't want to plan by season, that's totally fine. But then pick a date a couple months from now and just write in your planner or put an appointment in your calendar, review your annual goals list, and then you'll do it. And then you have to promise to yourself that once you've reviewed it at that point, that you pick another date a few months down the road and you do that again. Or you could set all 4 or 5 dates up right now. Totally up to you either way. But you do not want to leave it up to chance. And you do not want to assume that just because you're so excited about this list right now, you're going to just feel moved to look at it all the time. A couple months from now, you won't. But if you have a plan, you will. So make sure you go ahead and do that. All right, number 3. Number 3 is about the types of goals on your list. And I'm not necessarily saying that you need to change your list or make it over in some way. However, I've talked on the podcast before about how some goals are process goals. So they're things that you have control over it. Process goals would be something like read 10 pages of a book per day this year, okay? You have control over whether you're going to read that book, or I don't know, go to Pilates 100 times. You have control as to whether you go. Now, of course, injury could happen, or you could just not want to read books. I'm not saying it makes the goal easy, but in general, you probably have agency over that. Whereas an outcome goal might be something like, I'm going to progress to the next level in Pilates. You might progress, but maybe you'll go to those 100 classes and they'll be like, you know what? You're still not ready, and that's okay. So I am absolutely fine with people having some outcome goals on their list. I have some outcome goals on my list because sometimes there's just an outcome that you're really excited about and you want to include it on your list, and that's totally cool. But it's better if not all of your goals are outcome goals, because if they are, it just sets you up for higher risk of disappointment. And it's just, I think, healthier and often will kind of spur you on if you have some goals that you can be successful about them just by doing them rather than hoping for something to happen based on your effort, if that makes sense. So the tip number 3 is make sure you have some goals on your list that you have a lot of agency over. And that would be having a good number of process goals versus having all outcome goals that are more about what the universe decides to have happen based on your efforts. All right, one more, and then we're going to take our break. Number 4, it's worth spending extra energy and maybe pouring resources into primary goals. So what are primary goals? I have also heard them called foundation goals. I think Gretchen Rubin calls them foundation goals. Primary or foundation goals are those goals that we often set as habits or as lifestyle changes that will make everything else easier. And really common examples of primary or foundation goals have to do with health or attention. So things like, I will get enough sleep to make sure I'm not falling asleep at the end of each day, or I will limit my screen time to a certain number of hours, or my distractions to a certain number. Things that really just impact everything else. If you are rested, if you are not distracting yourself, if you are, those are like 2 of the most common, but other health-related goals, maybe you have to take a medicine. And if you don't take that medicine, life is very hard or you don't feel good. So that medicine would be a primary goal for you, because taking that is going to make everything else easier, because maybe without it, you're in pain or you're suffering and you're just not able to function in the rest of your life. I'm obviously oversimplifying. Conditions are not usually treatable just magically with one pill or something like that. But you get what I'm saying. If there's a primary goal on your list, I highly recommend paying attention to it first, putting effort into it first, capitalizing on that New Year's energy by really grabbing that one right out of the gate of the new year, and then potentially pouring more resources on it. I recently got the paid, okay, well, just disclaimer here, this is not a sponsor thing at all, but I decided to pay for the Opal app, which is a screen time tracker and blocker on the phone. I've only used it for a few weeks now, so I am not an expert on it, but I was kind of frustrated with the way Apple's screen time seemed to add minutes or kind of punish me for using like Google Maps and stuff. So I wanted an app that was going to block the apps that were truly problematic checking type apps for me and also would give me some more accurate data. And I waffled over paying for it because I was like, ugh, shouldn't I just be able to deal with this myself? But then I realized for me, keeping my screen time down to a reasonable number and avoiding checking is a primary goal because when my attention is not fractionated, I can do more of the other things that I want to be doing in life, whether that's connecting with others, creating things, putting my energy into my work, or getting good rest. And so for me, that's a primary goal and worth throwing money or resources at to help me succeed in that, and worth really paying attention to at the start of the new year. So for me, that looked like paying for the paid version of a screen blocking app. For you, it might look like, I don't know, getting a better sleep tracker or a coach to help you sleep better, or making sure that you have an accountability partner for your healthcare, things like that. So primary goals are worth investing in and worth dealing with first. And it's worth looking at your list to figure out which of your goals might be framed as primary goals for you. All right, we're going to take a break and we're going to get to 6 more tips for how to make the most of your 2026 goals. We'll be right back. Today's episode is brought to you in part with support from Mint Mobile. Now that the holidays are over, you might be feeling like you've got a big spending hangover. The drinks, the holiday food, the gifts, it all adds up. Luckily, Mint Mobile is here to help you cut back on overspending on wireless this January with 50% off unlimited premium wireless. Mint Mobile's end-of-the-year sale is going on, but only until the end of the month. All plans come with high-speed data and unlimited talk and text delivered on the nation's largest 5G network, so the same thing you'd be getting with a much pricier plan. I also love Mint Mobile as a low-cost option for teens. This January, quit overspending on wireless with 50% off unlimited premium wireless. Plans start at $15 per month at mintmobile.com/BLP. That's mintmobile.com/BLP. Limited time offer. Upfront payment of $45 for 3 months, $90 for 6 months, or $180 for 12-month plan required. $15 per month equivalent. Taxes and fees extra. Initial plan term only. Greater than 50 gigabytes may slow when network is busy. Capable device required. Availability, speed, and coverage varies. See mintmobile.com. Today's episode is brought to you with support from IXL, an award-winning online learning platform that fits perfectly into homeschooling or enriching your child's school curriculum. IXL offers interactive practice across math, language arts, science, and social studies, and it can be used at every level from pre-K to 12th grade. As you're solidifying your New Year routines, now is the perfect time to give it a try, maybe as a daily warm-up or enrichment session. I love the simplicity that IXL offers and the way it adapts to fit the needs of each individual learner. My kids have used IXL for years, and I really trust it to help solidify concepts and meet them where they are. There are awards and challenges to keep kids motivated, too. Make an impact on your child's learning. Get IXL now. And Best Laid Plans listeners can get an exclusive 20% off IXL membership when they sign up today at IXL.com/plans. Visit IXL.com/plans to get the most effective learning program out there at the best price. This podcast is sponsored by Organize 365. As we welcome the start of another year, I want to take a moment to honor you, the leader of your household, the cornerstone of your family, the multitasker, the caregiver, the friend, the professional, and the dreamer. You wear so many hats, and with every role, you carry an invisible load. These tasks, decisions, and emotional labors sometimes even go unseen by you, but they're never unfelt. This is the work that powers our lives. It's the unseen effort that keeps everything running, often at the cost of our own peace of mind or goals. But what if this invisible work didn't have to stay invisible? What if you could bring it to light, streamline it, and reclaim the energy it takes? The Sunday Basket is a natural partner for your weekly planning routine. The Sunday basket contains and corrals all of your ideas, paper notes, to-do lists, and mail safely until you're ready for your weekly planning time. Let this be the year you free your mind, lighten your load, and make your goals a reality. Together, let's make that invisible work visible. Visit organize365.com/sundaybasket to buy the Sunday basket today. That's organize365.com/sundaybasket. Today's episode is brought to you with support from Green Chef. If you're looking for a truly healthy meal kit option that isn't about food fads, but instead focuses on real and reliably sourced ingredients, Green Chef is for you. You can reach your wellness goals with options like Mediterranean, high protein, high fiber, plant-based, and more, all carefully crafted to support healthier habits. I love when we have Green Chef dinners. I don't have to worry about shopping, the prep is always manageable, and the whole family enjoys the meals. It's a triple win. Plus, right now, Green Chef has an amazing deal with Graza olive oil that you won't want to miss. Right now, go to greenchef.com/bestlaidgraza and use code bestlaidgraza, that's Graza, to get started with 50% off Green Chef and free Graza olive oil set in your second and third boxes. This 50% offer is only available for a limited time, so don't wait. That's code bestlaidgraza at greenchef.com/bestlaidgraza. All right, I am back and I am sharing 10 things to think about as you're starting off in the new year with your fresh list of annual goals. We just already talked about not doing everything all at once, wanting to make sure you have a plan and a specific date to pull out the goals list, even though it seems so fresh right now. You want to make sure you have a strategy for when you're going to look at it again. Number 3 was having some goals on your list that you have a lot of agency over, some process goals versus all outcome goals. And number 4 was that it was worth spending some extra energy and maybe pouring resources into primary goals, as well as getting to them right at the start of the new year. So number 5 is a shout out to habit goals, and just to remind yourself that they are really, really hard. Often habit goals are something you're trying to do every single day or maybe multiple times a week. And I always mention that they're not things you were already doing, or they probably wouldn't have made it on your list. Some people do like to put goals on their list maybe a few years in a row to really establish something as a habit. But the fact that you needed to put it on there means that it's still somewhat of a challenge. And I recommend not trying to add a whole slew of habit goals at once, even if it feels like you just want to be doing everything because that New Year's energy is so strong. I would really focus on one at a time. And I would make sure you have some contingency plans for getting up back on the horse if you fall off, because I know I invariably do, but I do better when I already think through, okay, well, when I have a bad week, how will I start fresh on a Monday? Or will I start just kind of like tracking by the day or by the week? Tracking can be good and it can be bad. And you want to track in a way that encourages you and isn't going to be kind of make you want to throw it all out the window if you mess up for a few days. So really be thoughtful about how you want to do that as well with your habit goals. So tip 5 is really just to do some extra reflection and thought on which goals are habit goals and beware of taking on too many, too intensely, too soon. Number 6. I used to call this my happiness audit or my fun audit, but I'm in a Marie Kondo phase right now, and her phrase spark joy actually works really well for me here. I would say that most of your goals, maybe 2-to-1, a 2-to-1 ratio, should spark joy, meaning maybe they're not inherently fun. I mean, an example might be writing a book. I love that I wrote a book. Certain elements of it were so much fun and so thrilling, but was every moment of doing it fun? No. But did that project spark joy for me? Absolutely. And not every project is going to. For estate planning, I always use that as my non-fun example. I got to come up with some better. Maybe, I don't know, mucking out the garage or something like that. That might not be fun and it might not even spark joy, but you might have to do it and have it on your list anyway. That's totally fine. But most of the things on your list should spark some joy because the list is all about things that you want to do. And ideally, you are crafting a life where you're doing the things that you want to do in part because you are planning them. And maybe some of them are small and maybe some of the non-fun ones are kind of bigger by scale. But in number, I think a 2-to-1 ratio is attainable and I highly recommend you try to aim for it. 2-to-1 spark joy to maybe not spark as much joy. All right, number 7. Your goals do not exist in a vacuum, so figure out who to share them with. So this might be your partner where you guys have a date and maybe they're not into setting goals, but you could still say, hey, want to hear my goals for the year and see what they think about them, bounce them off your partner or shareholders in the family. Maybe you're sharing it around a family dinner table. You could share them with a friend. You could share them more officially in an accountability group, whether that's by text or by email or in real life. Just figure out who you feel like would be kind of helpful and maybe inspiring to share your goals with, and consider doing that. And especially with your loved ones, because they're going to know about them anyway. So better for them to really know what you have planned, and maybe they can help with identifying obstacles or figuring out where you can get some more support. So your goals do not exist in a vacuum. Do not treat them as such. Number 8, you get to pick the start date. So if you're listening to this, it's January 6th and you're like, I'm too late for the new year. I guess I have to wait till 2027 because I didn't make my list and I'm already behind. You're not behind. You get to pick the start date. Maybe January 15th is where you've decided your New Year energy kicks in, because the first 2 weeks are really just a warm up and a recovery from the holiday season. And that is every single bit as valid as someone who really likes to wake up at 6 a.m. on the first of the year and be like, I'm taking this year by storm. So do not fret if you feel like you are behind or you're just not quite ready yet. You can pick your own start date. That is absolutely valid. And some people are doing best laid plans at home. We haven't even finished our January sessions of these. And I am going to leave this course up and available until January 31st, and then I'll take it off, so that if you feel like you missed the planning boat but want to watch things virtually and do this on your own, or maybe even do it with a friend, watch the videos together, then you can still do that. You get to pick the start date. And of course, you can plan on your own as well. You don't necessarily need a guided packaged planning tour of 2026, but that's just one way you could decide to start late, and you could do it on your own as well. So don't worry that you are too late to get into your planning gear for 2026. Number 9, it's worth including some meta planning in your annual planning journey. So what is meta planning? It's a term I made up around looking at your systems and kind of planning your planning. So, I mean, that sounds silly, but if you're listening to this podcast, you already probably do plenty of meta planning, because we talk about systems here all of the time. We talk about where our annual goals go and what planners we're using and how we're dealing with our tasks and all that kind of stuff. And it does feel to me like at least yearly would be a reasonable interval to really make sure you examine your own meta planning and ensure that your systems are working for you. Some of you listening to this are like, I look at my meta planning every week, and that's also completely fine. But if it's not something you've considered before or really given a bird's eye view to your own systems, I encourage you to do it at least on an annual basis. And finally, last but not least, my 10th tip is that you can take all of your goals seriously. But please remember that your goals lists are meant to serve you. They should not be a source of shame. They should not be a source of self-flagellation, but instead they should be inspiration. They're not magic. They're just a list of ideas that you put true thought and that you maybe put your heart into them. But they can also be changed if life changes or you feel like you need to. The outcome of which of these goals you actually achieve is something to be learned from and something to be celebrated, not a life report card to beat yourself up if you don't meet every one or if you have to pivot some later in the year. So just a reminder that these goals are there to help you. You are not there to serve your goals list. And if you find that a month in, one of them really was off the mark, you get to take it off the list. This is a working and living document. All right. So with that, I hope that helps you to really have some thought on how you will address the list of goals you lovingly and carefully created for 2026, and serves as our welcome with all of this new year energy that we're basking in right now. I hope some of you listening are even getting to start the year feeling a little bit more rested and renewed if you got some time off. And if you were working over the holidays, and hopefully you have some time coming up ahead. I know some of you have already received my book. That is amazing. As I'm recording this, it's still December, but I've been floored with the notes and photos I've received already. And the book isn't even officially out yet, but one of the vendors ended up shipping early. So it was just thrilling to get pictures and notes from some of you. So thank you so much. If you are interested and you haven't ordered the book, it's available wherever books are sold. It's called Best Laid Plans, a simple planning system for living a life that you love. And it lays out all the planning systems I talk about on this podcast in great detail with checklists and case studies and so much more. And I really hope you love it. And if you do, please share it with a friend. Or if you leave a review anywhere books are sold, that helps so much. And I would be so incredibly grateful. Oh, and one more housekeeping note. I have committed to doing one video episode a month. My wonderful sound team, Sound Advice Strategies, gently suggested that I try this. They helped me put together my planner stack video for 2026, which is up on my YouTube channel for December. I will link to that in the show notes. It's at Best Laid Plans Video is how you can find my YouTube channel. And then they even made like a short out of it. So it's been a lot of fun. I am still not planning on getting into traditional social media at all, but this at least provides a visual kind of component to the podcast. Now, the podcast audio also goes up in YouTube because there are some people increasingly that just like to listen to their podcasts on YouTube. So if that's you, you can find Best Laid Plans there, but there'll be an actual real video episode like the Planner Stack one coming out every month in 2026 as I have committed to that and now I have to deliver. So super excited about that. So happy New Year, happy planning. I hope you enjoy my book if you're checking it out. And I'd love to hear what you think of it. And yeah, just thank you so much for listening. Welcome to 2026, and I'm just so excited for more planning fun this year. All right, have a wonderful week as always, and I'll see you next week in your podcast feed.
This podcast is part of the Sound Advice FM network. Sound Advice FM, women's voices amplified.